Great. So you can see here that this panel discussion is going to touch on perspectives on kind of CMIP, IPCC, or participating in kind of global research more generally, as well as career pathways in science communication. So I'm really excited to introduce our main moderator for the day, Christine. So Christine LeClerc is an award-winning author and science communicator. She studies the water cycle impacts of nature-based climate solutions at Simon Fraser University in Canada. And Christine also served as an expert reviewer with the IPCC, as well as being an inaugural cohort member of Evidence for Democracy's Science to Policy Accelerator. So over to you, Christine.
So much. Yeah, it's really exciting to be here with all of you. Pardon me as I kick things off with an alarm to remind myself to be here on time. Can everyone hear me well? Yeah, yes, okay, perfect. So I'll just mention quickly that I'm here from the traditional unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam nations. And I will hand it over to our panelists one by one so they can provide a little bit of background on themselves. So first, do we have a Lincoln over here? Lincoln Alves?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, yes, we can.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank Christine. My name is Lincoln Alves. I'm from Brazil. I am a climate scientist with over 2 decades experience and work in climate and climate change issues at National Institute for Space Research, where I have been involved in climate modeling, particularly in evaluate climate extreme support adaptation strategy. I was also lead author for the last IPCC report, in particular in the Atlas chapter, and remain active in international climate science community through various projects. And they also include CMIP Data Access Test Team and WCRP core project. More recently, I moved to another side of the table. So I'm currently serve as a general coordinator for multi-level integration and risk analysis at the Brazilian Ministry of the Environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Really interesting to hear the extensiveness of your background. And we'll move on now to Leandro Diaz.
Hi, everyone. Will you hear me well? Okay. Thanks for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here and to share this panel with amazing other colleagues. Well, I'm Leandro. I got a PhD in atmospheric science a few years ago from the University of Buenos Aires, and now I'm a researcher and lecturer in the University of Buenos Aires, specializing in the study of climate variability, prediction, and change, mostly focused on South America. My work extensively use climate models from the CMIP. I have analyzed model from CMIP 5, CMIP 6, and use different of the experiments of the CMIP family, like the detection and attribution model intercomparison project, the paleoclimate model intercomparison project, and the decadal climate prediction project. So I'm very familiar with this kind of CMIP projects. I have also contributed to, I have been a contributing author to the IPCC last report, to the chapter 10, and also participate in the group review organized by YES. Well, I also have been participating in the YES communities, and I was a PhD student. And I am also involved in some of the WCRP activities. In particular, I have been very involved in the organization committee of the last World Climate Research Program Open Science Conference 2 years ago. And also to mention, in the last year, I have been involved in some work that address issues related to the inequalities in the climate science in relation to the North and global, to the global South and global North. And well, I have published 2 papers that could be of interest related to this matter. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Jan. It's great to hear of all the global institutions that you're plugged into, and I know that'll come up a lot in our conversation to come. John Dunne, would you please introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm John Dunne. I'm at NOAA's Geophysical Fluid Dynamics Laboratory, where I've been at since I did a postdoc at Princeton back in 2001. My involvement in CMIP began with GFDL's contribution to CMIP 3, the CM2 and CM2.1 models, and it grew to a couple carbon climate modeling in CMIP 5, a couple chemistry carbon climate model ESM4 in CMIP 6. And I am now a co-chair of CMIP 7, along with Helene Hewitt, who was in our European and African panel earlier today. Let's see, I was a lead author in IPCC AR6 Working Group 1, Chapter 4 on projections and near-term information. And my background is originally in oceanography, where I received my PhD in the previous millennium.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by kind of all the diverse branches of science that people can visit within their careers. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you more in this panel. And Valentina, do we have you online?
Hello, everyone. Thank you,
wonderful.
Christine. My name is Valentina Rabanal. I'm also from Argentina. I'm based my office is based in the National Meteorological Service of Argentina, which is in Buenos Aires city. I have a background in journalism, and I'm about to graduate in atmospheric sciences as a bachelor or master. So I have an extensive experience in science communications, and within the Met Service, I'm the ES officer. It's a young Earth System Scientist community officer, community around the world with more than 2,000 members. And I'm also the editor of Meteoros, which is a science communication magazine that has its first editions around 1950, and some years ago we started having it again, printed and also online. I can paste the links in the chat if you want for all of you to read. It's in Spanish, but if you know Spanish, or at least Portuñol, you can read it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I really appreciate having your perspective as well, and kind of being able to hear from someone who's in a bit of a hybrid role, you know, being the S officer, kind of being in touch with this global community, and also editing kind of a more kind of introspective activity, I think. So without further ado, let's get into our questions. As many of you will know, this session is broken down, or this panel is broken down into 3 parts. So first we'll talk about pathways into assessment and research. Then we'll touch on managing an academic career. And we'll also discuss science communication. So we look forward to questions from the audience, and we'll kind of take those as we go. So first set of questions regarding pathways into assessment, kind of as an example, the IPCC work, and research, for example, CMIP work. And so what is the process to become an IPCC contributor for those who have contributed, and what are the different types of contributors in this kind of very large process that happens every several years? Can we go to John first, perhaps, since you've kind of been involved in a number of capacities over the years?
Sure. Yeah. So you know, at GFDL was involved from the beginning in supplying the first climate model that was used in the first IPCC assessment. So and then has been involved in the coupled model and comparison project through leading coordination efforts, and that's been our sort of opportunity of engagement with each generation of the IPCC assessments. But the way that the process works is that there's a group that forms from the IPCC, and they put together an outline that goes through an approval process, and then they solicit nominations from countries, and then through that process they try and balance expertise. They have they would like they have goals of gender diversity and country of origin diversity, and career diversity, and then they put together the what are called the convening lead authors for each chapter, coordinating lead authors, the CLAs, and then the lead author teams, and then the contributing authors are brought in through the process as they realize that they have needs that need to be filled to do the assessment properly. And then the whole process, takes a long time, through each of these phases, and so my own engagement was really in the previous phases just as a supplier of model output, and then in AR6 I was nominated by the U.S. government to participate as a lead author.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for kicking us off. Can I move to Lincoln now? Was kind of having been a lead author, did you come to it in the same way, for example, that John did through being part of a modeling team, or was there another channel that you kind of got into participating in the IPCC assessment reports?
Yes, thank Christine. Yes, as John said, there are different type of contribution to the IPCC, but I think it's important to mention that the nomination process typically involves government and observers organizations submitting the names to official calls. So the selections is then made by the IPCC Bureau, based on the scientific expertise, geographic balance, gender, and disciplinary diversity, as John said. And my role, as I said in the beginning, it was in lead authors for the specific Atlas chapter, but I'm also contributing as contribute author in different chapters as well. But in addition to our authorship, many experts engaging with the IPCC as a review. So it's important to mention that it's an open process. So everyone can participate in review. So this means that it's a great way to start understand how the IPCC work and how to contribute to the quality and the integrity of the report. So there are different opportunities to be engaged. The official is to be part of the nomination select by the bureau, but I think for the most community, we can become review. So it's as I said, it's a great way to be part of the IPCC process.
Wonderful. And I was wondering, Leandro, if you could speak to your experience as a contributing author within this type of process.
Well, thanks. In the case where I am, as I'm not a lead author, or I'm not been nominated, or I had participated because I was particularly contacted by the authors of one of the chapters because they are interested in my expertise to work with because they have in this chapter that is the one related to some regional aspects of they are interested in what I have done about one of the regions that they choose to make some focus. So my contribution was in that sense. So in my case, it was more because of my specific expertise to contribute to one of the chapters. So it's a bit different that in the process of nomination and that, because it depends more on some of the author, on the interest of the author to complement the expertise to make the different chapters. And as also I have, as said before, participated in this as I have a review part of the report. So I think that all, as Nicole mentioned, is also an important part of the process, because at the end the chapter could be is very improved by that all the reviewers that put their contributions to improve the text.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wonderful, thank you for that. And that kind of leads me to Valentina, because I know you coordinated the effort for YES to participate in the last part of the last assessment review process as reviewers. Will you tell us about how that came about and how people were able to get involved with that process?
Yes, what we did for the last round, last assessment, AR6, is YES and other ECR networks like Apex, Pages, MRI. We gathered together to propose an idea to IPCC, and that idea was to be reviewers, not as individuals, but as a group review. In the final document, all those who participate were acknowledged with their full names, but in order to become a reviewer of this ECR group, what we did was having for each round of reviews made by IPCC, we create a form to get nominations. And from the nominations we had, we try to reduce to a manageable number. I'm pasting now a link to the poster that I presented 2 years ago in the WCRP Open Science Conference that Leandro mentioned earlier. I presented the poster with some of the results there, and we also wrote a perspective paper. I will paste the link later. And what we did is first for the special reports, we participated in the 2 rounds of reviews, and then we did the same for the AR6 working group 1 and 2. It was a great experience, a little challenging sometimes, because those like me who were a part of the organizing committee of this task, we had to, along with other people, review all the applications, then carefully try to choose those who could not only devote more time, but also had a better idea to what is being a reviewer. And it doesn't matter if you had experience or not, because it was also a capacity building activity. And we try to have, as also John mentioned before, we also try to have gender balance, regional balance, career stage balance, which is not always easy to combine these 3. But I think we did a pretty good job. And yeah, I will place now these 2 links that I mentioned, the one with the poster and the one with the perspective, which includes the same information, but on a different style.
Thank you. Thanks for posting those links. And now maybe I'll just check in with Elizabeth to see if we have any questions from the audience about getting involved in this type of process.
Christine, if you allow me, I just wanted to add one important thing that I can consider is especially related to the gender. In the last report, the number of human in the process increased a lot compared to the previous one. And also, we had the opportunity to have more new autos in the process. So the IPCC Bureau did a great job in terms of this effort. I hope the next cycle will follow this opportunity for improve a little bit more the number of human and new authors.
Okay, thank you very much for highlighting that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so yeah, we'll keep watching how it iterates, I guess, in the next reviews. And if there's no questions about this from the audience right now, maybe we can go on to a question about how global scientific institutions ensure fair representation and knowledge inclusion across regions. So we've kind of heard about those kind of parts of the IPCC process where there's these kind of attempts to kind of increase the diversity within the group, whether it be lead authors or the contributors, etc. Thinking now more generally of global scientific institutions, what are some of the ways that they are working to ensure fair representation? I can leave that open to anyone who would like to jump in.
Well, maybe I can start.
Thank you.
Well, for me, the fair representation starts with the inclusive nomination process and the transparent selection criteria. Sometimes we just know the calls from different channels. So the transparent sometimes, at least for me, it's not clear enough. So this is not give opportunity for different scientists from different areas submit your intention to be part of the process. So this is one of the key element that I think it's important to consider. Also, to think in terms that representation is not just about numbers. It's about influence of the decision making, recognize the diverse knowledge and system. So people, my perception is that in the process, people consider a lot people that have a lot of international experience, but as we know, the regional expertise could bring a lot strong voice in the global assessment. So I think this is one of the elements that we can consider fair representation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that. Does anyone else have thoughts around how these institutions are working? Yep, John?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up it in discussions of fairness when it comes to the IPCC, it's important to recognize that the positions of like dedicated, lead author, coordinated lead author, and organizing are all unpaid positions. And so the first thing that one has to have before signing up for any of these positions is the commitment by whatever institution that you work for to support you in that process. And that's it. And we've had some horror stories of young people who have participated and then not gotten tenure because being part of IPCC wasn't part of their tenure system, and they didn't, they prioritized that over other things that they were supposed to be involved in, and that's really the most horrible, sort of unethical part of that process is that it, in order to bring in people that are early career and potentially of countries that don't have quite as many resources, the people that are involved, at that level, at that commitment level, have to be supported somehow. And that's been historically one of the impediments to participation. It's the reason I never would have suggested that I participate as in those roles as a younger scientist. It was only when I sort of maxed out in my career that I said, okay, I could just dedicate my time to this. And that's the point about the ability to contribute as a reviewer and as a commenter and as a contributing author. Those are really much really valuable entry points. And I know that being part of the author teams, we do try to make opportunities as transparent as we can. That at least within the contributing author part, it's up to, we have to know that someone is sort of shovel ready and is going to be able to contribute with very little added effort, because we can't pay them. We're just asking for them to do something for free. But when it comes to the reviewers, that's really where you can say, why aren't you doing this? This is the open process is really there to help the authors see where their blind spots, where those gaps are, and then look for ways to fill them.
Thank you. Well, it's a really, really good point about the resources needed to participate, and what those are serious choices, especially for an early career researcher. Let's move on to our next section here. So this section is about managing an academic career, but recognizing that that we have also some people who are scientists, but not necessarily at an academic institution. I'll just kind of broaden that a little bit to say, for science communicators and also project-based scientists, how do you handle the project management side of being a researcher, and how do you manage being involved sometimes with multiple very engrossing projects with a number of collaborators? How do you make that work? And I'm looking to see, I don't see any hands up. So I'll ask Leandro, how do you approach this?
Well, I think that depends a lot in the nature of the project that we are talking about. So it's probably is not a simple answer. Well, I think that it's important to have some agenda. That's, I mean, as some topics, research topic that you are interested and are relevant for your studies, for your institution, for your country, and try to move on them, and start to be opportunities to make collaborations. It's important to engage with them when they are relevant, to try to make that your research have a larger impact in the community. I think that in times could be you have to be very focused to not start to be in so many projects that you could not be to have time for all of them. So you have to be a bit careful of what you say yes and what you say no. Sometimes you feel that, at least I feel it that way, probably for Lincoln, maybe the same when for countries like Argentina, Brazil, I think that when you have some opportunities, we are not so many researchers in our region, and when we have opportunities, we want to be there because we feel that it's important to have a voice, to have a representative of our region there. But sometimes you have to be aware that it's impossible to have time for everything, so you have to choose which is more relevant for you. And I think that it's important to have at least something, at least to I think it's important to have some objectives, some at least for the year, for at least for 2-3 years, some specific objectives, and then long-term objectives of where you want to push your research, where you want to be as researcher, as a group in the following years, to manage where to advance. And after that, you choose a bit, depending on which is in the table, you choose which project you could make a difference, and that is important. I think that to in some way that you could benefit not only yourself, also your group, your institution, your country, when you participate in this type of projects.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Maybe I'll check in with Valentina. You're completing a degree, you're the Diaz officer, you edit a publication. I'm sure that's just kind of some of the buckets that you work with. How do you approach project management?
Yeah, as Leandro said, I think it's really important, even though I'm not managing any research project, I think it's important to also know what are your goals, what do you want to aim, what are you aiming for, or what are the goals you want to achieve with that. Without that, I think sometimes can be a little overwhelmed. I'm not saying that it's not overwhelming sometimes, but at least if you know where is your horizon, it's easier to work towards that. Those from here who have been already working with me know that I love making Gantt charts and that kind of things, and which is also really helpful. And I think it's not something that you can learn in university. You just learn it to do it. But yeah, projects like Meteoros magazine, it's a magazine that each issue starts early in 1 year, and hopefully ends at the end of the same calendar year. So the timeline is more or less tight, or at least defined from starts. But then there are other projects, like sometimes you know the goal, but there are multiple challenges in between to achieve it. Leandro mentioned earlier a paper regarding the inequalities between Global South and Global North. That's a project that Leandro and I, with other people, we were co-managers of that project, or co-authors as well, and it was a challenge setting the side event and then working on the perspective, which is maybe a small project, but there wasn't a clear it was a clear goal, but it wasn't a clear timeline. So we had to work towards that to avoid extending forever the activity, because there are other people, like I think Leandro and Lincoln said, that you are not alone in this project.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And John, if we could go to you now, just to get the perspective of a project-based scientist, assuming you're contributing to publications, but maybe you have other outputs that you need to manage. I'm not sure, but curious to hear how that works in your context.
So yeah, at NOAA, it's a mission-driven science agency. So we have specific mandates for like from Congress, or to research and provide information on things. And so that really depends on the individual scientific interests being aligned with the agency's mission. And so it makes it very hard for us to hire people, because you have to once you hire somebody to do something, we tend to keep people for decades on projects. They're very, very long lead time research projects. It can be 10 years, 20 years. So you really need to have the person who's dedicated to, who can't help themselves but live and breathe that activity. So that's the thrill of being around a whole bunch of people that are all dedicated to different specialties and furthering the scientific understanding and application. Be it some of them are based in wanting to focus on tornadoes, or lightning, or fire. There's lots of different aspects of the environmental science that are motivating folks, and so you have to grab them when you have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Beth has her hand up.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I was just going to actually ask a question kind of based on the topic we're talking about. And in particular, Valentina, you mentioned the article that you and Leandro had worked on together on the inequalities between doing science in the Global South and Global North. And I was wondering kind of how you manage contributing to activities that may be seen as slightly more extracurricular. I'm thinking something like Fresh Eyes on CMIP here. A lot of early career researchers are hired on project-based funding, and so they have deliverables for their project, and how to kind of decide essentially like how much time you might be able to give to something that's not directly within your kind of funding that's hired you. Yeah, I just wondered if anyone had any thoughts on that.
Well, maybe I could start. I think that it's depends a bit on the kind of this side project that you were being interested in being involved. I think that at least for me, when I think in this kind of type projects, that they are really good opportunities to engage with other colleagues from all over the world. So I know probably that probably you will, for example, if you are a PhD student or postdoc, you are going to have a bit more, less time for your specific research related to your project, to research project. But I think that you are going to win a lot for to know other people, you could get opportunities if you want to have them to make to go abroad to make your next step. Also, if you want to start new research collaborations. So I feel that, and also to make an impact in all the scientific community, because these kind of activities have as goals to make an impact in the modeling community, in how we use these kind of models or whatever. So I feel in that way, for me, are important. As for me, it's important, for example, to teach, as is other activity related to the research. It's not researching, but I feel as important because I think that it's complementary. It's a complementary formation. You also learn other kind of things that because maybe you don't make that directly because you need for your research, but you could win things that that could be good for your research. And probably at the beginning you don't know, but after that you could get in touch with people that could help you then for your research, or open your mind about other things. So I feel in that way. I don't know if you are doing something that is very that is very unrelated, and probably you will do, and if only for you, you feel like makes sense for your at least for your what you want for your future, or what you feel that is important to do. But I think that in general, these kind of activities are good. You have to maybe decide how much time you want to put in that. But I feel that at least to put a bit of time on that is good, because you are going to win a lot of complementary things that you are not going to get to win if you only focus on your computer and making your research.
Thank you. Thanks for highlighting that, and thanks for the question, Elizabeth. I guess kind of building on that, you talked about how participating in these types of networks or kind of side projects can be really valuable and kind of help engage with other researchers and kind of increase your impact. So I wanted to get thoughts from the panel on how you build, like which strategies have been helpful for you for building a circle of collaborators who are rewarding to work with. Maybe I can ask you, Lincoln, to kick us off on this question.
Sure, thanks for the question. Well, I think the collaboration is not just about complementary skill, it's also about shared values. So prioritize what exactly you wanna achieve in your career can guide your pathway in terms to connect with the people in different institutions, different countries. So this is one of the way that I think it's important. Also, the other way to me is to identify entry points where your work can be aligned with institutional goals. So you can, through your institutional activities, we can connect with or extend your connection with different research. So this is some point that I think we can build in a cycle of collaboration in terms to improve your network.
Okay, perfect.
Also, yes, sorry, but also you cannot forget the opportunity to be part or to attend events, mentor students. So this is collaboration often grow from informal conversation. So it's I think it's also important to participate in these other activities that sometimes we cannot prioritize.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that. And now I'm just looking at the time. I think we'll move on to our final section about science communication. And Valentina, if I could get your thoughts around which platforms you actually find most effective for communicating science. Well, platforms or formats, I guess I'll ask you about.
Yeah, well, I have been, I was part of the press and communications department until 2 months ago from the Med Service. Now I switched to another interdisciplinary department. But regarding platforms, I think we are basically in every social media, at least the traditional ones. But we try to modify a little bit the content. I'm still involved in some of the content there, but we also try to participate in in-person activities or virtual activities to, in our case, communicate what Med Service does, what is important to check the official forecast or the official early warning system in the case of Argentina. And in that case, regarding these kind of messages, we always try to include them in the school visits we have. Last year we received more than 700 people between May and November in different in 32, I think, school visits, school and university visits. But also we always try to participate on science fairs and that kind of activities where we can spread even more the message, or different workshops that the Med Service is involved. But regarding platforms, I heard the last part of the previous session, and one of the speakers, he was talking about that, for example, the Med Office is still preparing or producing this longer video that can right now look a little outdated. But in our case, it's the same. We have every month we produce the 3-month outlook, and it's always a content that has a lot of views, taking into account that it's a video that might be around at least 4 minutes long. It's not a short video, but people are still interested in know what's gonna be the outlook for the upcoming 3 months, and not only the general audience, but maybe a more specialized one, like for example agricultural sector and that kind of sectors that are they need information that is not on a short range. So for them, I think this kind of products also are really interesting, and likely for us, we can still doing it thanks to them.
Perfect. Yeah, I guess you have a built-in audience of people who are very interested in those longer-term forecasts. We're getting close to the end of the session, so maybe I'll just ask for a quick popcorn from our panelists, those who would like to kind of have a quick tip around communicating on complex topics, but still kind of like making it simple enough for a general audience, while also kind of not compromising the nuances too much. So if you have any quick wisdom to share on that.
So
Go ahead, John. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just going to say one of the greatest opportunities I had to learn about communicating was on a retreat with middle school and high school teachers of science, where they really pushed me to distill information down because they were good communicators, right? They're used to communicating, and I really had to work at it to get because they would interrogate me and they wanted to know, they were interested, but if those opportunities can be had, because there are schools around it, so anybody can sort of reach out and try and get that type of communications experience, and I think it's extremely valuable because we don't learn like Valentina was saying, Gantt charts. We don't learn these things that are so valuable, but they're when we actually practice them. And Douglas also had his hand up, and then I think Lincoln wanted to say something.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for.
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a question.
Douglas.
Sorry. Yeah, I have a question like more geared towards John and people who are more established in the communities. What do you see the emerging topic that is important for the CMO community, or the emerging developments that's coming up, and that for the early career scientists to really pay attention to, or establish their research around those areas?
So you want me to start on emerging topics? Well, so for the CMIP 7 documentation, the CMIP panel came up with 4 topics: the sea surface temperature pattern, the extreme changing weather extremes, the coupled water carbon climate nexus, where there's lots of problems are linked between water and carbon, and then the question of tipping points, whether there are these sort of hidden and abrupt changes possible, so you can go to the DMD papers, read more about those, and I'll go to others beyond that.
Thank you, and thanks for sharing the link. Anyone else on emerging opportunities or emerging topics?
So I not exactly the emerged topic, but I think one of the main challenges that we are still facing in different arenas is in terms of the language. Most of the important scientific reports or publication is English, and not everyone, especially for the stakeholders, understand the English. So this is one of the challenge when you try to communicate our science.
Perfect. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of an ongoing challenge, perhaps not one that has an easy solution. Yeah.
And also, I want to add, I think that something that is each time more relevant is to better understand the changes in the context of local scales. We need more because the scale of decisions usually is more related to the local or regional scales. And sometimes, so I think that we need to improve the kind of information that we could give in the local level, obviously taking into account all the uncertainties that came from the models. But I think that is one of the challenges that we face for the future. So I think that is one point that will be very, very relevant.
Christine, I think you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. I was just mentioning that, we're kind of approaching the end of the session, so I'll just do one more quick check to see if there's any questions from the audience. Okay, I don't see any hands up. Thanks, Douglas, for chiming in. And I wanted to check in with each of our panelists about what making an impact in science means for you in your career. And maybe I'll start with Valentina.
Thank you. For my case, I think make an impact at least in the science I'm doing right now is how can I say, like it's ignite a spark of curiosity in science in other people. As I mentioned last year, we did a lot of school and university visits at the med service, and even though some people came a little reticent in learning about science, or at least one type of science that always look a little difficult and unapproachable. I think for them it was a really rewarding activity, and even though the visits or that kind of activities are really exhausting, you always feel a little proud of what you achieve. And just today I was part of an activity where we teach how to install some automatic stations for some schools in a basin here near Buenos Aires, where it all usually get flooded, including this past weekend. And seeing the students from the different schools, most of the schools, all of the schools are public schools from lower income parts of the society. Seeing them get the know-how to handle a station and how to learn about meteorology, I think is always a good way to leave an impact in other people and in the younger generations as well. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds very I want to say inspiring, but also just to be able to pass on those like very practical skills. It sounds really, really cool. Maybe we'll go to John next. If you could share with us how that looks for you.
To me, it's all about helping people make as good decisions as they possibly can. We have a lot of experiences with environmental problems where in the U.S. with the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, where there examples where people said, oh, we need to do something different, and use the science that we have to do better and make lives better. And sometimes those decisions end up being pretty straightforward, like the CFC's Montreal Protocol was a great case study, and their alignment between a problem and a solution. And then the whole CO2 thing is a little bit more challenging. So there's a lot of us all working towards this particular problem, and every solution isn't going to be the best for everybody. So we have to be cognizant of that, and respective of equity and the idea that change can be good for some and bad for others.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thanks for highlighting that. Yeah. Does bring more complexity, but obviously that's what we need to grapple with. So I really appreciate that. Leandro, how about yourself?
Well, I think that I agree a bit on what Valentina and said before. I feel that for me, that making an impact means to make science that could help to address the problems that we are facing now as the global community and local and national level. So I feel that at least two important things is to make the research that could be projects that could help to address at least some specific problems that could help in that way, and also to, as also in my role as of teaching, also to help to that more people, more researchers could be have tools to make more impact, because I think that we need a lot of people making science to connect with the society and that face these global challenges, environmental challenges that are so urgent.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thanks, Leandro. And Lincoln, how about yourself?
Yeah, to me, making an impact in science goes beyond the academy. It means using science as a tool to support decision making and improve people's lives. For instance, over the years, I had the privilege to work at the interface between science and public policy, and that has shaped how I define the impact that is transform knowledge in something that is usable to society or the community. And consider that we are in the CMIP panel. I think the CMIP it's not represent only data, but represent also this connect between the science and the society, but also connect us in terms of the community, science community. So I think the impact of in the science is exactly to do something usable to society, but also to connect the scientists to promote is to think a more how can I say a better word for the future. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thanks. That kind of sums it up. Yeah. Well, thank you so much to our panelists. Thanks to everyone who attended, to Beth and the organizers, and to the WCRP. I will hand it over to Beth, and thanks for having me as well.
Yeah, thank you. To just reiterate what Christine said, thank you so much to all of our panelists, and a huge thank you also to Christine for moderating so well over the past hour. That was a really interesting discussion and lots of very thought-provoking messages that we can think about for the next few weeks.